I was just wondering, because we always kind of ask the same questions on this when we're talking to new trainers, but I don't think we've ever really talked like how was the first year? Like, what did that look like for you as starting this business for yourself?
That's
like,
yeah,
a lot of learning what running a business is.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I understood a lot of things, and I did not. Definitely a big thing, which I knew before going into it, but clearly didn't put into practice. For me, which has now become a big thing, is taking breaks. Because I still live in my facility, but my facility before was my house.
Yeah.
So I was really living with everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I went 6 months without ever having a break from dogs in my house, besides my personal dogs, or including them. So learning to take breaks was definitely a big thing that I learned pretty quickly because I get burnt out way too fast.
It's that going to bed at 9 o'clock thing.
Yeah. Well, I wake up at 4:30, so going to bed at 9 is fine.
Yeah.
That was definitely a big thing. I think legally, like contracts, what to put in them. I kind of had to learn based on situations that happened. Like we kind of talked about, like you can't just say it to someone and then hope,
you got to be able to kind of have the
hope
documentation.
they remember or hope they take that as word. Have to have it written down, have to have them sign it.
Yeah.
And that has still changed since then.
Oh, yeah. Fine tuning.
But definitely breaks and contracts were a big thing I had to adjust pretty quickly.
Is there particular situations you could think of that like caused you to make like a big change in like a contract or something like that? I'm ready for it.
I mean, it's not insane. I had a client with 2 dogs want to do a board and train. And it was a 4-week program. And so I had told her what the price was per dog. So my first mistake was not telling her the entire price.
Sure.
So I told her what the price per dog was. And then at the time I was offering payment programs. So they could do a $500 deposit to save their start date. And then the rest of the payment broken up into thirds. So a third at drop off, and then we do a midpoint lesson. So a third at midpoint and a third at go home. So she came for drop off, or she paid the $1,000 for the deposit for both dogs. Came for drop off, paid the 1/3 for both dogs. We did our midpoint lesson. They went home. And then like a day or 2 later, I realized I hadn't sent them for that second third. Okay. So I texted her and I was like, hey, totally forgot to send you that invoice to have you pay that second third. I just sent it over now. She was like, I thought I already paid everything.
You're like, you're only 50%, girl.
Yeah. They weren't even at 50%.
Oh, Jesus.
And so she screenshotted what I had sent her, what the pricing was. Like, you haven't even paid me for 1 full dog. Yeah. So I don't see where you think you're done paying. You haven't completed everything.
Yeah.
But that made me definitely change to put my pricing on my contracts because it was not on there.
Yeah.
And then I had another time where I had to add in that my deposits were non-refundable because I said it on the phone, but they were able to argue that it wasn't in the contract. So I had to refund it.
Well, we talked about that one, right? We had to change like refund policy stuff, like right around like the time of COVID, because legally in the state, and I recommend everybody, you should look into this in Texas also on it. But well, if it's on your contract, obviously it's fine. But in the state of Ohio, in order for a refund to be enforceable, it has to be clearly I believe it says clearly presented at point of purchase, right? So in our case, we were collecting payment over the phone for our program. So you called up, you said, hey, I want to book a program. We would do the same booking process. We'd put your tentative date on the calendar. I would say, all right, I'm going to take your down payment now, whatever it may be, and then plug it in and then send them the receipt and stuff like that. But in our refund policy was always on the website, and we always stated it verbally over the phone, right? And that is not enough to enforce it. So because it wasn't presented at point of purchase, technically speaking, we had to switch to that's why we invoice everything out now before payment. Even if somebody calls and says, I want to sign up right now. I'll give you my credit card information right now. We say, cannot do it. Got to send you out an invoice and collect all the payment that way. So yeah, we've had so many things like that. You know, a lot of it is so situational. And like, unfortunately, there's really not a lot of good resources out there as far as, you know, dog training specific contracts and agreements and stuff like that, and why certain things are written out the way that they're written out and stuff like that, to help understand how you really need to protect yourself in all sorts of different situations. You know, it could get really, really messy with that kind of stuff.